Ea yuxatini, ashtakat yuhan. Tak itit kuaha. Yewe ichwaji, ya ak kwan ane kuk. Glade yan na slain. Grashi twas gu shashakiti gudi. A jaji tin. Ruk. Kunya gisak shwe. Uyach elkaden khasaka. Ya kaya we itikat gut. Ye yakhwa. Guk sayek wanuk wekona nashi. Yesh kashniki dach. Achtuasaku wish kashniko atwatusa ahi. Wuchin yukagachtusa. Dadachsa ya habulsa sandikak. Kawasa wuchin yejigachtuné. Ya khana Táax'aa adayejigachtuné. Ka gus which the cutway yeda dune at we singit punish to cook at dach. We cook keka kechne kahuayinak. Has to tunda tani at dach aya. Achtuag saguan at yahai at cook aya kochshahit. Testis singit ka English. Inganan yukatangi. Achtuasago at yahai kutzati. Kach shedzi achawa at yahai chudlak. Yisikuge dak yahai sa. Kach shedzi yaududlaki. Atutzet kuch. We ashkal kuch. Kach shedzi. Kashech chudlak. We ayahai. Aka awe. Kuchsa we ashka. Dutzet ashka kuch daki hiti dechoku. Naski a kwashtakuni achwa. Haskach shukwa like shukwa haskach waus. Hilke wasa uti klik diketi dach ayach washa kwashdech a. Haskot like kashatuash guwe hit dach aya. Yaudidlaki. Wanach zei twasagu. Lingít ka icha tu. Ach twasagu o yahai. Kuk a kach shakit. Haska guk a yahai. Qadech a achji has awati. Dakasaka we shakudzi hoods at khadaki hiti to one we ashka dutzet kukudaki hiti. Gulchish yadu ya achsani klein ducheid. Yadu we weshkashni kachtua suku tua achi. Aka konach shkashni ate. Konach aushakuk yashingit kusi kashingit yuchatangi. Dusai aya kash at ka guantan khusiti. Dusik aya dasti ya. Ach aushatu. Sheet kuk aya yehasji wane. Snap yidu asago at Sitka Native Education Program. Yewa hasakosha hityata. Kechne kadastia. Ka kushik ka khataya adaye jutune. Yadu achtuasugu tusa ahi. Kone kakwaju.
Folks, they'll ask you, should any go, you can the woods play cards. Achie, you to the cake. Go to the court here. Where did you learn the dance from? Go to the go. No. أي هاش كسلينجي يسلينجي خاصتي يسلينجي آني كايوت يس يودو سايقا يسلينجي آني كادي أبخيخ أيا تلقى يسلينجي أوستي وقاو أقايتليخ أكاوا أقويا يس يودو سيات نعم يكودوني كوشتاقواني يقوى إيك to invite the people كوشتاقواني أقايا هتسودوا إيك يس كتعطيوكو تاسقا قيخة قطي كوشتاقواني كشاني هو يوكا تنيك Táax'aa أقايا دفاعي خشكك يودو ساق كاوا كاته كاقيقة تتيح نوك أو كان جفودا كاقيقة تتيح كديدة كديدة نو كان نشوفي خن أقايا دايقة أعتقد النتان you yes that's Christina you make himself a blind that you do a time make us out of our you the fire na ka kuna se panu kuna nashe na ka أجا خوكي وكون خير قانون كنا ناس خير يوتا خيته كتقتلنا وأتخا خيته تتك تتخاتوشته أجا أوبخ نستي أقايا كواك الله تتخي خطقائد يودو أيكي لا يتكختاو اختارته كوتاكسكي قاعد كاوسو اختارته تواسكو تقوتي ديك آخر قنيس وادي عاصف فتل خيته شيكت شو go أيا يداتونا right today used to be Táax'aa work about Stacy cake of the I forgot 2 songs. Katea Kaseo, Lika always here. Taktushinu, Jean, you'd got Kohasatik, Katlike. Now, Sasana is Katakit Yatre, I should call it here. I work 2 years. 2 years, did it, 2 years. No. Katika yechei. Katika yechei. Yese koshite kayo kishu. Yese has. Sana. Yeyata okadawa tekitsi ya. That's a song they were dancing on. And from there on, it keep on going. The same way to Shuku, you yes, others are now, lot of our race, Lingít here, it's taken and if they ask them, as how the Wooch said, who does it, they doesn't know where that came from. The reason why I was talking is, so let this down here one time. But the school, Conjugator, ʼatudli.átk. That's it. Yeah.
Wow. Dísi you did. Jeez. What's you to Wooch?
So, Hawaii means sidekick?
Yep, Hawaii. And then Huaku means your gang. So at Ku'ik, they'll say, like, Neshka Kuke, Dukai de Huaku team. And then she'll say, Ha day, and then everyone around and start banging. And then you bring a big bowl of food.
This is exactly how it goes at Ku'ik.
There's big messes. Any thoughts, questions, things you noticed?
That guy talks very fast.
He talks very fast. We'll listen to a different story Thursday with the same song in it and a faster speaker.
I like the way he talks. He's very loud. He lengthens like the longer vowels, way longer than the shorter vowels. So it's easy to know.
Really clear speaker. So, and you can also, there's another recording. There's a series of them, and Kichnach, going back and forth. And there's several other speakers, but a lot of it is those two. And then if you want to read along, it's printed in Hatu Nagu Yis. It's also printed in a earlier handout called We Cherish You, because we cherish you, I think. But it's an old text, and if you get it, it usually falls apart. But you can listen and read along.
It's very rhythmic.
Yeah, he was a real old school Lingít speaker. He taught a lot to Kuchik, Robbie Littlefield, who remembers lots of stuff that he talked about and the ways that he said them. And even you can hear the tone, like even when he stretches it out. Like I think I said, but it should be maybe it's, I think I reversed. I said it the second way and it should have been the first. Okay.
Can you talk about his vocal wobble that he does when he is imitating?
Yeah. So like most people, if they sang that song, they go, aha, aha, ka di da ye ji, aha, aha, ka di da ye ji, ye she chus iti ka yao shu, ye ke hus sana. But when he sings it, he's going, like I can't even do the warble that he does. And it's wild to hear. So I don't know like what that would entail, like why people would sing it that way, if that was personal preference or if it was just something in the moment. You don't hear a whole lot of that, like that pronounced. Like when he really first starts singing, it's doing that. So I can ask though.
Yeah, because I was wondering if it was a storytelling like tool, like a rhetoric, because you know how like in the other story that when they're talking about the decoy going up, there is a different tone being used too.
Right. Yeah, and so when they talk like Raven, like they usually do this kind of, it's a very sing-songing type of thing. And then same with this. And it's also just ridiculous. And like this story I think is very fun because it's very bad manners but also very silly, where he says like, I don't want to go there. This little kushta is going to have just like 1/2 of a cod head for everybody. And that's just what he assumes. And then his nephew goes and sees all kinds of food and goes back angry. And it's like, they got all kinds of food. So he's like, well, I'll pretend to be blind, so just lead me over there. Because he was embarrassed about being late, because he didn't want to go. And now he wants to go. And then when he walked in, he says, which people will yell at ku'ig sometimes when they come in. Like they still yell that today. And it's a jokey, silly sort of thing. Like so qunna means different or other. Nach means wealth. And then guksa yik qunuk is a really good example of a future mode of a q conjugation verb, yik qunuk. So you can also, if you walked in, you don't have to say it so dramatically. You could say guksa yik qunuk. So instead of qwa, it changes to qwa with an underlined K. Where am I going to sit? That could be a genuine question. It could be just something you say to yourself. And you could also say, guksa yekach to clean. Where are we going to sit? Right? So it's practical language in some regards, because sometimes you're just trying to figure that out. You might be asking someone because you're not sure if you're at a cultural event, if they have assigned seating for you or not. They might. Okay. Oh, let me check. It's a couple things in the chat. Yeah, so because you cherish you, it might have a reprint. It's in the Tlingit language curriculum folder if you want to see the PDF of it. And it's also retyped, I think, in its entirety in Hatu Nagu Yis, which might also be in the Tlingit curriculum folder. I was also pulling out like just the speeches only. You could find that copy if you looked in there. Okay. Yeah, okay. So before we do what I think we should do, any language thoughts or questions? It's been a little while since we've gotten together. Okay, then we'll do what I want to do. So I want to kind of slow things down, but also get back to this particular process of specifically changing object pronouns in a verb. So just continuing to sort of think about a verb theme when we see one, and what does that trigger in our mind as far as how to start moving that verb around. And by moving it around, I'm talking really about changing this object right here, which is, these are all object-based. So we're only changing the object for these just to see what happens. And then we will come back and we'll change the subject. So just for review, so let's see, where are we? We are on slide 81. So there is a list of these. We're not doing all of these. We're doing chat, ha, I, yi. These ones should all be 0, hus and 0, and then either k or ka. So that's our list of things. And I think it's going to go chat, I, 0, ha, yi, hus, 0, and then either k or ka. So that's the order we're going in. There's no surprises. Like, these drills are designed to help us commit these lists to memory by just going through and sort of predicting what this will be. So this verb theme tells us everything we need to be able to predict what this is going to be. But to recap, as we read this theme, I like to go left to right. So when I read this, I say there's a capital O. It's going to have an object. I know that that's a list of objects I just looked at. What does this tell me?
It's a 0 classifier.
It's a 0 group classifier. And then if I would actually jump over and see this is a state verb, and that's important because of what? Bueno. That actually tells us. What's that?
Stem variation?
I'm not too worried about that because if I look at this one, neek, it has this little X, which means there is no stem variation. It's always long and high. But I would think about stem variation when I look at this to say, I am sick, or you are sick, or they are sick. This being a state verb is going to tell me what mode I can put this verb in. And then it'll also tell me what this classifier will be. So state verbs have an imperfective. So if it's happening right now, a state verb does have an imperfective, and the state verb imperfective will have a plus I classifier. So that means this classifier will be what?
0 plus I.
Which will sound like what?
Yeah.
It'll be yeah. So we should be able to predict that this will be Yannick. So Yannick, Yannick, Yannick. But it's going to change a little bit once we start changing the object. So how would I say I'm sick? Chat Yannick. Okay. And as we go through this exercise, I just want to say to the universe, we are not asking to be sick. We are just doing a drill. Because there would be some elders, like they would be like, stop it. You're not supposed to say that. But sometimes you need to learn how to say this stuff so that you can actually say it to people. Because you might call someone on the phone. Wasa'iyati, khatyanik, ha, teshe khandik wakut. I ain't coming around you. You are sick. Yeah, what? Yannick. Anyone online want to try the next one? They are sick, or it is sick. The object is unmarked.
Yannick.
Yannick. And I just had a conversation with someone the other day, which was recorded. It's on a podcast, which came out today. Apparently, Dena Ina, because the relationship with dogs is so special, they always conjugate them as a person. It's cute. We are sick. Anybody?
Hi.
That's a subject one, though. Ha. Ha Yannick. Okay, everybody say Ha Yannick.
Ha Yannick.
Ha Yannick.
Ha Yannick.
Ha Yannick.
You all are sick.
He Yannick.
So there will be no hustus in here. There will be a hus. But no do. Ye Yannick.
Ye Yannick.
He Yannick.
Ye Yannick.
Ye Yannick.
They all are sick.
Has Yannick.
Yeah, what? Has Yannick.
Has
Yannick.
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 So to recap, for the fourth person, it's going to be k, unless there is some other verb with k on it that's going to create confusion. There's no sick weather, so this one will be k. So how would I say people are sick?
Ha Yannick.
Yeah, oh wait. Kuwanik.
Is it the W that changes that to a double? The U that changes that to a W?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you look over here when we're writing this Y with the 2 dots over it, which I named Shewaki Y because I think that's funny. It means a Y with eyes. It will be a Y unless there's something that switches it to a W. And a U vowel before it will switch it to a W. And then you'll see some other cases where it switches a little bit unpredictably.
So since what is the weather is hot and say like everyone's just like having a fever, and you're saying like people are hot. Would you say like, oh, what other than ku would you use?
Wouldn't use that verb. You'd say chat yadu a sigh. Is that it? Chat would do a sigh. It means to be sweaty. Okay, let's go look it up. Hold on a second.
So in situations where you can't tell if it's ku for weather or ku for people, you just use it different.
Ka.
Okay.
So like kuwake can mean that people are good, but I would recommend ka yake because then it's clear. If you said kuwake, everybody you said it to would think of the weather. They would look outside and would say kuwake, unless they don't like the sunshine, which is possible. There could be Dracula that speaks Lingi. Oh yeah. Anna, okay. Where is I don't even think this one's in the verb dictionary. Cow do a sigh. Jeez. Okay. So let's go look up sigh. I think it's SAAY. Just see if it's in there. I don't think it is in there. See, it's got to give off heat, to be real hot. But if you said kuwata or ka yata, it sounds like they're probably roasted up bodies or something. It does. People don't get cold with sa'at. They go to sewa'at. And they don't get hot with yata. It goes to kaudua sai.
So that'd be like if like the entire countryside was like napalm or something like that. Like everyone's on fire.
Yeah, it would sound. I think people would just be confused because I don't think people would really say that. So that verb, I don't think that verb is documented in the verb dictionary. So we'll go look for it in Lear's stuff just so we could see what it looks like. And it's right here. Kaudua sai. So you'd say chat kaudua sai. I've always learned it as this. No, it's this one. Chat kaudua sai. So kaudua sai. This is a verb, and there are some of them that have this duh just frozen in there. It's just there. You just have to accept it. There's a few verbs that have it. It's just built in. It sure looks like a fourth person subject to me, but it isn't. It's just part of the verb. I think Kajo Tokanir was a tea. Taax'aa hak'idaqaaqo Lingít to hasaltu. Hasdu tawasagu yad achsik hasan ataswu'at. Aqahas shakau has chakawaqa. Hasdu in yuqatan Lingít qenach Lingít has ausaku. Chidachnach achidki. Ataswu'at kleinach awayawaqa. Chat kaudua sai. Ya kiki a achsik du shat chewawus. Dasawe sai. Aqa du shat ye a yausaka. Sweaty. And they came back and they told me this. So what did I just say? That's a little story.
I only pay attention to like the last 2 sentences. But like you said, Dasawe sai, and they said sweaty.
That is correct. Haja argit tokaneh husati. Haja argit tokaneh husati.
Something about their son.
My son.
Usati, they were something.
Tokaneh.
Tukane.
Anybody know tokaneh?
Baby.
Yes. Haja, my baby boy. My son was a baby. Hak'idaqaq'u Lingít has ʼatudli. K'idaqaq'u is neighbors. Hak'idaqaq'u Lingít has ʼatudli.
People who live in
Next, like around the base of it. Kidakwani.
today I learned.
Our neighbors, Lingít has ʼatudli. Oh, take a week off. Don't know how to listen no more. It's okay. Stu has ʼatudli. Okay. We just gotta wake our Lingít brains back up. What's Stu ʼatudli?
Two, that sounds familiar.
Stu ʼatudli. What's that?
It's like,
I'm learning.
I'm studying.
oh yeah,
Studying.
oh my god. Yeah, two and
It's,
two
it's time to do it.
Two is like the verb for like for studying.
Yeah, so Stu has ʼatudli. So they are studying Lingít. Hasu tuwasagu chidachnach ach sik has ʼatudli hastu. So I just dropped a challenge right in the middle of this like little easy lesson we're doing.
So they're with us and no.
Chidachnach ach sik has.
Working with us?
What is dachnach?
Dachnach.
Deich.
From
Deich.
Dich. Dich is two.
Dachnach.
Oh yeah, two people. Yeah.
Chidachnach ach sik has.
Sick. My plates.
Sick.
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 Sick. I don't know sick.
Sick.
Shachwasuk sick.
Seek.
Sick. See.
Ach yit ach si.
Oh.
Ach yit ach sik.
My daughter.
My two daughters.
My two daughters.
Hastu tawasagu hastu in ʼatudli. Or I guess I should say, hastu tawasagu hastu in ʼatudli.
They're with
Hastu tawasagu.
They want something.
Yeah, they
Ah.
want.
Hastu in
They want to be with
them.
with
ʼatudli.
them.
Or ʼatudli. They want to walk around with them.
Yeah.
And now this one, I should have probably said. Hasakachwa'aq. But I think I said, or haskachwaqa. I said haschakawaqa. I ordered them, because they were my students. Hastuin yuchatan, Lingít kainach. Hastuin yuchatan, Lingít kainach. Hastuin yuchatan.
You both speak Lingít.
Well, I said, speak to them in Lingít. That was me being bossy. Lingít has ausaku. Lingít has ausaku.
They know it.
They know Lingít. Táax'aa. Yaya waqa khatkautu wasai. I said we'd go slow, didn't I? Taanáx'aa.
It's one person.
One of them. Yeyawaqa.
Said, spoke.
Said.
Yes.
Okay. Katuwasai.
I'm hot.
Yeyawa. Kiki sick. Or I guess I could say kiki sick. Which might be a little challenging.
So,
Kiki
like
Your youngest daughter.
that is correct. Dushet wawuz. Dushet.
Asked her sister.
Asked her older sister. Dasawe sai.
what is sign?
Dushet ye ayausaqa.
Kinship.
Her older sister
Her older sister
said to her,
said.
sweating.
Sweat.
So they came back, they told me that, and I was so happy because my 3-year-old daughter isolated a verb root, and it was wild. So she just said, what's sigh? And her older sister says, sweating. And it was 100% correct. So, like, it was really neat just to sort of see that. And so, like, so kautu asai is how you say, I'm sweating. Back to the lesson. Okay. So this tells us everything we need to know, but this is not a state verb. It's an event verb, which means what?
Something is happening.
Yeah, it's either the before or the after, right? So we have to get to the it has happened verb. And what kind of verb, what kind of mode is that going to be?
Perfecto.
Has to be perfected, yes. So that means you're going to get w in front of it. We're going to change the object. So the w part goes right here. So object w. It's a positive perfective, so this classifier has to be what? Anybody know? If it happened, it must be sh, right? W, sh. This is maybe something we're still learning. A perfective verb that is closed and zero, this is a zero verb, will want to be short and high. So I would expect, and I don't expect you to know this, but I would expect all the way down. So if that's the case, how would I say, I am dirty? Yeah, oh well. Everybody say, So we're going to talk a little bit here about object pronouns. There are some of them that we write as their own word. There are some of them that attach to the prefix. I is the one in this case. So this one is going to attach to the verb. But any object pronoun that ends with a vowel might trigger contraction. So I and ye and ha and k are all going to trigger contraction here. And what's going to happen is this U is going to drop out. So if that drops out, then you're going to get some verb blending. So you're going to get something, right? It's just going to run right into that W sound. And in this case, if the magic combination for any of our inland speakers or learners, vowel W, consonant, vowel, root, will get you to the M. So we are going to have some M variations here. How do you think I would say you are dirty? Not woo, though. That you drops out. Where I say, we'll do the one on the left twice, then we'll do the one on the right twice. Okay. So this is, the next one is an unmarked pronoun because there's no subject. So then we should be able to just say this part without the chat on there. They are dirty. Yeah, oh, we are dirty. Yeah, oh, what? How should you all are dirty. I feel so judgmental. Y'all are dirty. It's like there's a video out there. I think the family doesn't want to share it, but it's a wonderful Lingít speaker, and she's like, "You're trashy. You got lice." So it's a good one.
So if the ha's not attached, why did we drop the U?
Yes, because it ends with a vowel. So even if you said, if anything, like it doesn't even have to be an object pronoun. Any vowel before it is going to push this contraction to happen. And there is, so we write, so the ones that we write separately are chat, ha, yi, and ka. The ones that are attached are I and and k. So there is a reason behind all of this. So even though these ones end with vowels, there's some like fine detail of contraction that happens. And I'll show you, I'll just type it here in this bottom thing. I'll try and move it to notes. Maybe I should just move it to notes because that's going to take up some room. Because that's a good question. Like, why would it be different? Why would it be different? So let's take a look at why this is. Because we had some discussions about this years and years ago as we're sort of talking about how to write down these pronouns and how to teach them. And when you're looking at object pronouns, so you have chat, ha, yi, well, let's just go in the order that we usually see them. I, yi, then you have zero or and then you have p or ka. So if it has this hyphen, that means it's signaling to you that it needs to be attached to the verb. And so as we see some of these examples, like we see these things triggering contraction. So for example, if this was our verb, we have and then we'd have and would have, but now we get and then we get and we get we will see that we get or you could say right? So going through, like, this is what all of these look like. The last one sort of went to its own page. Hold on. But what if I took a different verb, right? So I'll use a different verb on this next page. So here again, we got chat, ha, I, yi, Oops, I forgot one. Zero or hut, ha, oh, I'm doing these wrong. Sorry. And then ha, k, or ha. So the next verb I want to do this with is I'll say klesh, chat, ushke. What does that translate to?
Not good.
I am bad, actually.
Yeah.
You could say klechat uke. I'm not good. This would be like if this was Dungeons and Dragons, I'm telling you like I'm evil. I'm an evil character.
Yeah.
So if we use this same verb, we get klesh ha ushke. And then I'm gonna jump down. We get klesh yi ushke. Gosh, I need to do like a whole lesson of like praising verbs. Oh, evil. Okay. Klesh ushke. And you can have bad weather, so I would say klesh ha ushke. But if you look at this verb, it's ushke all around. But this one that attaches is klesh ishke. That is the reason why we write it separately. Because it just has a deeper level of contraction. It will just full on be part of the prefix and cause this one extra level of contraction. So that's why we write it separate. But the vowel ending ones will still trigger other forms of contraction. Okay. Y'all are dirty.
Sickness, dirty, evil.
Well, you all. Sorry, you all.
Okay.
We got notes here. I can get rid of these notes.
You should check.
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 Yim should check.
You should check.
Yim should check.
You should check.
They all are dirty.
Has with Wooch check. Has Wooch check.
Haswu should check.
Possibly should check.
Has Wooch check.
Haswu should check.
Possibly should check.
So this next one we're gonna have k, and it's gonna push it in. It's gonna push it long, and then you're gonna have this W or M, and we're gonna write it as a single word. People are dirty.
Who should check?
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 Whom should check?
Who should check?
Whom should check?
Who should check?
The LI classifier to the CH apostrophe, short, high, E, X, underline apostrophe. That's a tricky one. Whom should check? Aw, this is so much nicer. Okay, so going through, here's the we do have t on here now. So we have a thematic prefix, which is a noun that is put onto a verb. This means inside. So this verb literally means like has pleasantry inside. How nice. Object is right here. So it's going to go to this jump. So I look at this classifier, I see an L classifier. My eyes jump over to see state verb. I expect it to be sh, and then on, this has this little X. It will always be long and low. So in this case, I should expect to sh on, to sh on. So how would I say I am kind?
Khatushaan.
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 ʼatudli.átk. You are kind.
ʼatudli.átk.
ʼatudli.átk. They are kind.
ʼatudli.átk.
ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk. We are kind. ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk. You all are kind.
ʼatudli.átk.
ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk. They all are kind.
ʼatudli.átk.
ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk. People are kind.
ʼatudli.átk.
ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk. Okay. Oh, okay. So I was like, this one has some extra notes in here. So this is for someone to be cold. So this one, so when you have sa or khe or cha, when those encounter this combination, we're going to go sa, perfective, ya, classifier. It has to be those three things right in a row. If there was a subject in there, it wouldn't go that way. But if you have those three things, you get sewa and chewa. This is the only time that this really happens, right? So this is important because we look at this is an event. It's going to be perfective. So we should expect object, sa, yu, ya, ut, because it's a zero conjugation. So that means I should expect it to be sewa ut. So to say I am cold, what do you think we'll get?
ʼatudli.átk.
Chat sewa ut.
ʼatudli.átk.
Chat sewa ut.
ʼatudli.átk.
You are cold.
ʼatudli.átk.
Sewa ut.
ʼatudli.átk.
Sewa ut.
ʼatudli.átk.
How would I say, are you cold?
ʼatudli.átk.
Sewa utke. Sure. They are cold.
Who does eat you?
They are cold.
ʼatudli.átk.
Sewa ut. Sewa ut. We are cold.
ʼatudli.átk.
Ha sewa ut. Ha sewa ut.
ʼatudli.átk.
Y'all are cold. Y'all. Let them all. Ye sewa ut. Ye sewa ut. They all are cold.
ʼatudli.átk.
Ha sewa ut. Ha sewa ut.
ʼatudli.átk.
People are cold.
ʼatudli.átk.
Ha sewa ut.
ʼatudli.átk.
Ha sewa ut.
ʼatudli.átk.
Hey, what are these
I like
notes?
how we're louder and we have more emphasis, like we're more honest whenever it's a negative thing, like cold or like dirty. When we're super quiet when
When we get to tusha on, it's also like ha tusha on. We cannot do that. So if you're uncertain, you have to just go for it. Because if you go ʼatudli.átk, like you're putting like this ridiculously high tone thing on it, which signals uncertainty in English, but we are speaking Lingít, so you just have to go for it. ʼatudli.átk. Okay. Now, slow. So this is when you have a 2-syllable verb root, it's pretty much always going to be invariable. So in this case, it will always be ʼchiyuk. That is the, or ʼchiyuk. Wait a minute. Is that what it is? Yeah, it is, okay.
Okay.
And I thought it was maybe a K apostrophe, okay. State verb. So I should expect ʼchiyuk. ʼchiyuk.
Is it like the one that doesn't have a perfective?
No, you can have a perfective. Like I think every verb can have a perfective. It's the imperfective, whether or not it has it. An imperfective, an act, a state, and a position are the only ones that can have an imperfective. So an event and a motion verb don't have an imperfective. Okay, so be the last one we do, then we'll do something different. So we expect ʼchiyuk. I am slow.
ʼatudli.átk.
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 You're slow. ʼit'chiyuk. ʼit'chiyuk. They are slow. ʼchiyuk. ʼchiyuk. We're slow.
ʼatudli.átk.
ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk.
ʼatudli.átk.
Y'all are slow. ʼyit'chiyuk. ʼyit'chiyuk. They all are slow. ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk. People are slow. ʼatudli.átk. ʼatudli.átk. Okay, good. So the goal here, like the intention, is to just continue to switch the object pronoun. So that really we're trying to drill into our minds. Chat, ha, it, ye, 0 or hus, and then k or ka. And as we sort of continue to do that, we're also learning a few new verbs. Like, so you probably drilled these a year ago, but I think in beginning Lingít, you start to just try to teach people Lingít. I think we tend to just kind of crash through these verbs. But then as you're coming through them again, now you have a bit more sort of understanding of how Lingít works. And hopefully, as you continue to learn, especially these state verbs, most state verbs have object pronouns. So if you know how to change an object pronoun, you can use a state verb in a whole bunch of different ways. Okay.
So
Thoughts?
does the state verb tell, is that what's telling you what thematic to use?
No, that's really just saying
Oh.
a state verb means it's usually got an object pronoun only. It's usually conjugation. It tells you, not all of them, but most of them are conjugation. And it also tells you it has an imperfective that's plus I. The thematic prefix is a noun you can add to a verb, but it makes it into a whole new verb. Sometimes it changes the meaning quite a bit. Sometimes it changes it just a little bit.
Now, what about the verb we did before this? There was the you and then the ya.
This one, the sa, ʼatudli.átk one,
The one you started that had all the stuff in the notes that you were trying to explain to us, and I wasn't getting.
I think the fashion how it becomes sewa or sewa.
with
Yeah.
So this one, so when we
where's the you come from?
So this is an event verb, which means to talk about it being right now, it has to have already happened. So think it has a set of these event verbs to say it has to have happened in order for us to say that it's that way, right? And so it's really interesting how this stuff works, because you can say chatlitzin, I am strong, chatyanik, chatlichan. You can say all these different things. Those are all state verbs, which means you can use an imperfective. But to say I have, like when you say this, you're literally saying I have become cold. So it's talked about it in this perfective way. And it's interesting because time does not drive the language, but event does. And there's certain things that you talk about where there is no imperfective version. Like I have become cold, I have come to know it. There's some of them that really are I have seen it. So you say like setin. It has to be in that perfective mode. But then when we throw a thematic prefix on here, with others you would say akawa. They tried it. So you get kawa, yawa, shuwa, shawa. And usually they're doing this awa thing with the third person or with no subject. But what this is saying is with sa and cha, for some reason they switch to sewa and chewa. So you'll say, yu chewa tan, they spoke. And in this case, sewa at, they became cold. So this is helping us to predict what this prefix is going to be.
If you say so.
It's a lot. And so like you don't need to understand this right now, but just to know like the pattern is going to be sewa at. Sewa at is cold. Like that's totally fine just to sort of say, okay, I can remember that. Sewa at is cold. For a person to be cold. And then you could change the object right there. But then there's more information as you sort of start to figure out how to build prefixes on your own, which is probably for a lot of us a next year conversation, although we're trying to sort of think about these things. But as you look up and predict what the prefix is going to be, this one just sort of goes in a different direction than all the others. Sa and cha just have their own little special rule. Okay, take 5. Sheesh. Okay, so now we're coming back to the yesh ha'atech story after doing our drills and kills. So qaddas kut is what we call the purposive mode, and it's just the so it can happen mode. So if we look at this thing that's driving me crazy, the latest thing that's driving me crazy is the conjugator. So here's the March 19th edition, which has, well, I've got it, this is how far I've gotten today. I've gotten up to, I'm almost done with all of these 3 in the thematic forms, but I'm really uncertain about the habituals. And so I'll have Jeff Lear proofread that and let me know. And then the potentials, I think, will probably need a little bit of work as well. But it's almost, the thing is almost done. And then it will be ready for a printed edition. So, but if we look at how this thing works, it doesn't, it's kind of, I guess I'm trying to keep it short in some ways. So let me back up for a second, and I know you folks have some other questions. But there's this other document that we should probably look at, which is another, intermediate and advanced Lingít is all about like these things that are not done. And so here's another one that's not done. So years ago, I had this idea of making a board game where you could put all these verb components together. And you could buy the board game, but there's no instructions. These are the instructions. And then I think eventually there will be activities that go with it. For example, if I said ʼatudli.átk, then you would say, oh, ʼatudli.átk is this qa right there, this d right there, this s right there, and then you would have ku, which would be a long and low stem, and this T right there, ʼatudli.átk. So you could grab those tiles and put them on here and see how those sort of parts assemble. That was kind of the idea. But if you go to this conjugation chapter, this talks about the way that conjugation works for Lingít verbs, which is dynamic and complicated, interesting. It sort of starts to go through and show you what the parts would be in a prefix for cha, chwa, kuqa, I, iya, or yi, and guqi, a, awa, and akqwa. So it starts out showing you a zero classifier model. And then it goes through and it says, well, here's the things that are needed to make these verb modes. And it starts to, and then there's text that you can read that introduces you to these concepts. Then it says there are 4 conjugation spots. On spot 1, you have the g conjugation, which has 2 jobs. The 2 jobs that this does is I will activate for certain g conjugation verbs, like the command form. If I want to tell someone, be good, does anyone know how to say be good as a command?
Let's just be K.
Yep.
Be K.
It would have I, and it would have K, and it would have one additional thing. It is a g conjugation verb, so it needs to have g. K. Be good. Ikletsin, be strong. Ikletchun, stink as a command. You could tell someone that. Or be smelly. However you want to interpret that. So, but it also has a second job. Does anybody know this little guy's second job?
Hortative.
Well, it will be in hortatives for g conjugation verbs, yes. But that's still coming back to its first job, which is in certain modes for g conjugation, I'll activate.
Like future kind of.
Yes. G, g. This will be in all future verbs. And the second spot, you have the aerialis. The aerialis means I activate when there's some break with reality. All negatives, all potentials, and all futures, certain other instances. Number 3, so spots 1 and 3, you have conjugation prefixes. 0, na, and qa. 0 and qa only have one job. I will activate for the command form. Qanu, kha. Na will activate for the command, well, not just the command. It will activate when the conjugation prefix is called upon, nata. But na also has a second job. Anybody know the second job of na? Or want to take a guess? You don't have to know. Take a guess. Duya kanagudi huwa. Yanagut. Ya anasquain. Progressives.
Yeah,
right?
progressive.
I activate for all progressives. I don't care what the conjugation class is, right? Then on the fourth spot, you have the perfective marker or qa mode. Qa mode can pair up with na, qa, or ga. Okay. So then it shows you what these look like when you have these different verb modes. Like look at sleeping. Nata, go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. Ta, they are sleeping. Uta, they aren't sleeping. Wuta, they slept. Wuta, they didn't sleep. Gukata, they will sleep. Gukata, they won't sleep. I'll put the link to this document in the chat and also on our class webpage tonight. Nakata, let them sleep. Natej, they sleep every time. Kesh unatej, they haven't slept yet. Kesh ate unkata yet, they cannot sleep. Nakwatayin, they would have slept. Natani, if or when they sleep. Teich, they sleep regularly. So think it changes a verb an awful lot. And this is just the third person. So you could now start changing the subject for these. And you can also say nakatayit, so they could sleep. I could say shishkat nakatayit, we took an A. Shut up so the baby can sleep.
I don't understand why they sleep regularly. They sleep regularly is tape rather than ta.
Okay, so when you close or oo, if a verb root ends with or oo, it must change when you close it.
Okay.
Changes to a, oo changes to way.
If it's like an underlined consonant?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Look at natej.
Okay.
Or if you say, for example, how do you say I know it?
Hasaku.
Hasaku. How do you say I'm getting to know it?
Ga.
Ya. It's got to start with ya.
Ya.
Ya nach sa queen, which is where you get nesqueenie. It's a lot. Tlingit is very extra. Is that what the kids say today? You're so extra, Tlingit.
Like 6 years ago.
I was like, I'm pretty sure they said that. I'm pretty sure I said that. Sorry.
I'm in tune. I'm a very young person. Okay. I was interviewing someone. I was like, well, I started studying Tlingit in 1996. And then they're like, well, I did a similar journey, but I was 5 in 1996. Okay, so this shows you another verb. So here's one with an L classifier, qa conjugation. Qashat, hold it. Don't hold it. Alshat, they are holding it. Kesh ulshat, they aren't holding it. Alshat, they held it. Kesh awushat, they didn't hold it. Ye aguchlashat, they will hold it. Kesh ye aguchlashat, they won't hold it. Aqachlashat, let them hold it. Ashatch, they hold it, achlashatch, they hold it every time. Kesh uqashatch, they haven't held it yet. Kesh ate aqachlashat yet, there's no way they can hold it. Aqachlashatin, they would have held it. Aqashatni, if or when they hold it. And ye ashatch, they hold it regularly. So we're going to jump ahead. So it talks about conjugation prefixes and how the conjugation type starts to affect the verb. It does go through quite a bit of other, and then it lists them out sort of on a table with their name and the sort of explanation for it. But I thought of this because there's this list of verb modes. I remember I made this, I think, a summer last year or the year before. But I had this sort of aha moment, which was, what if I listed these modes and then I listed these sort of sub-modes? So it's something I'll probably have to re-examine because I probably think of it a little different. But what I'm trying to communicate here is if you can build a perfective, you could build a negative perfective, which is based on that perfective model. You could build a dependent clause, or what's the other word for this? Okay, I can't remember now. And a decessive, subordinate. Sheesh. So this is, what subordinate means is this is how you would build Yakei Irsatini. It is this mode right here. And this is a bunch of information. But it's important to know, like when you're looking at the conjugator, all of this was triggered by this Qaskut question. If you look down, and this is a lot, this is an awful lot of information. Don't feel like you have to know all of this right now. But this is a hortative. Like, for example, when you say, let it be that way. Yenqati. Sagu in yenqati. Let joy be with you. So if you can turn that into the so it can happen mode, which is called purposive, which I'm probably going to not call it that for much longer. So if you say sagu in yenqati, let joy be with you. If you want to tie two concepts together, I could say in kachonik ichsachan, or like ye eyachsaka ichsachan sagu in yenqatiyit. I said I love you so joy could be with you. That's presuming a lot, right? But I couldn't figure out what my other samples sentence would be for that. So coming back.
Goodness, this is why I was trying to save this for.
This is a little bit of an advanced thing. So what was your other questions about this big story? I do think I'm going to take this word for dance regalia and put it right in the dictionary.
Yeah, so that caught Hannah and I's eye. Hannah and I's.
Where was it?
It was just on the last page.
Was it?
Go back up. And right about there.
Why the adi?
So from dancing.
Yeah.
Da, around. At.
Things.
Da, at. But then it's going to become relational to the dancing. Da, ati. The thing around the dancing.
Is lech related to li at all?
No.
Okay.
Li is just its own. But is that just what they call it? Because we didn't have that. That word comes from specifically those trade blankets that first came here that were wool. Okay. Okay, Nishishuhan. Sorry. When I was on break, I was just cranking out a whole bunch of verb stuff. So we come back into learning and I'm like, okay, well, let's just take it easy. But then I've been working on all this hardcore stuff. So ends up being a little hardcore.
Before we run out of time today, some of the students don't have questions about the midterm. If you could just maybe show them the template and what you expect in the middle. There's a few questions saying it's already translated. What am I supposed to do?
Okay, so here is Táax'aa. And what I think we'll do to close out this evening and to start shifting gears to make sure we're working on this every day. Our goal for the midterm is to make sure we can identify every single word that is in here, right? So if we say awe, we could say, and this is maybe the trickiest word for me to translate in Lingít, because I never know how to really do that. So you could say, that is. So what I'm asking you to do is a literal translation right in the middle. We ach yagu yikt. So do we understand every single word that is right there?
Yeah.
So how would we literally translate this?
That my boat inside.
That my boat inside.
Right? And you don't need to you don't have to say inside at if you don't want to. But that's why the letter T is in there, to be arriving at the inside of a car or a boat.
Or a whale. Whale.
Or yes, or inside a whale, or a giant person, or inside a forest, or in a road, or in a river, or in a boat that's in a river. You could say ach yagu yikt or Héen yikt. But then you're just showing off. And what I also want you to note in this middle category, so you could, ideally, you are downloading this. There's a Pages version if you work in Mac. There's a Word version if you work in, what's it called? Microsoft. But ideally, you will download this and you will just start filling this whole thing out. So let's try and get to the end of this page, perhaps this week, like we'll see. And don't worry, like if there's something that you don't know and you're not sure about, like just say, nach Wooch.
I like how you would coach.
Right, so it's nach, where I just violated my own rule. Right, so put your questions, like this is totally your document, but the goal here is I want us to completely understand this entire story. So if we look at any single word, any single sentence in here, you will know how it works. And if you're not sure, we'll figure it out.
What does this midterm do?
Well, we're just gonna work through it together. I don't really do due dates necessarily.
Yeah, I was wondering if I needed to get it done sooner, if we just do it until the end.
Try and get through page 1 by Thursday.
Okay.
Any questions, concerns? Táax'aa.
It's just like never mind actually.
Okay. So I'm sure we've heard it before, but I think we should listen to this. And this will get us into our Táax'aa mood.
Awe weg ja project guide you to Satan. Ik dat wat nog speel. Awe je gaat de wasak in de trainer Satan. Awe ja saaien nach awe gaat we goed wen tago aye tago. Je satak gaat zitten. Je satak gaat zitten dat sinaya kochtje. I had 1906 model. Zoeken nog gemaakt gaan misschien. Oude tegen je te ja ken. Ja hoe je aye of hier wat zitten. Kijk, ik zie wat je redt dat boot. Hoe je dat nog gekocht je afgenomen. Oude ja zei het cool oude. Je dat ze ka. Achtung, erst du in Konnachtach Kachwanike, ja, ich sage, Wutach Kaya, ach Jehavutich, Tachaya Wutich, Hakustie, ach, ja, Chat, ja, ich Katach, ach, Ekekach, ja, Chat, Ayatach, Dadach, Sayah, ja, Chat, Konach, Yatik, Kustie, Dachka, wat ik zei, Ja'au, Jischa, and Kine, Kusachakan, Kutsete, Wega. Awe, Atayo, Atasat Genut, Ja, is Kade Haus Gaze, Atayo, Atasat Genut. Jo Atayo, Atasat Ge, ja, take a tea, ja, family, has to Khanati, ya Konaken. Tenakati, what you Quajaki Atka. Tessia Kukude, ya to Yedate, to Creek, Yaku was she. Teho, so Tessia Kukud. Shikukuda, ya Kikea. Question Kata, Patahatu show. Question Kata, Katu show, is te, Yakikea. Jayanas Kachaya to Hunfohaska, Yakunashin. Ayadak Yashak, Akaha, Ayausitin, Kaya, Chukayo, Siku, Kusakakon Satiye. Chandayana, good Tessa, the own of the Hania, and not to do it at the Hayot Kushrik, I sin. Cash Handayana, good day, our cash shower, Hitchower, Kusakakonjo, shower, Hitch, Tikit, out Tikit. Wasn't the two Yakeva Sakon, at the house, Sitaway at the great Tuesday. With Tuesday. Te awaya to anete to hite Táax'aa yete. Gan awa, gan khawus kawa khakhilchin wetu yana ye. Agite to hite yitenes kotwa khakhan. We yatak awa we yana tu. Awa ko awa tu tak te gute askota ya tik san khat achtaut se akhwayana. A todag ke goed hoor, to Chechenwe, Sakhan Kuse. Ayayke Wahankanach, to Takanach Ayran as anything now, a shower hitch, so a shower hitch, so a shower hitch, so a shower hitch. Yakayaka, Kosiku Ayacha, Sakhan, Hanik den ko Ayakatu Sene, Ahunko Hasaya Tachnacha, Jack. Was gets a gerson, gets so nick then and it ha. It is a day to eat a hoa, get sakane. Ayahawa should at the ark. Cut our hot and cut our hot, workers hakon. Catches a kick the eye, ye our catch a tax and kaktu the shat. Was gets a gerson, workers hakon, take again. I just a time kaktu the shatri awa uksiu. Workers hakon kitty awa uksiu. Kawaii when we our Táax'aa husite. A jaw Táax'aa who was Táax'aa to take Kujia Hawaii, Hakon Hawasiti, yes, so I would talk to our the Toasikoya Kashi, Kaputke Kawuche. Ye awa the key on cow, Yasin get on out say, Konach house, the Khan, Ayasin get on ate, Ayasin get on Ayasin get on Jayausi, Yataka, a Jayaye, a Dutch Kasni. Kutsiki, Ayahati, ye Ayat Taslan, ya attend to one ya terrible cross you do sak ya go to ate anachna ate akhan kaya yedo sak taslan aya shiyatehen ha shiyatehen ak chaye so aya ha ya akhena ki khashe ak ye ayan qatan ya itak ya atyat khatin khapasni khapena.
Okay. This is a wonderful story to really master, I think. There are there's a verb mode that he really likes to use, which is not maybe well documented, I guess. And it's right here. And he uses it quite a bit. Aweya achsai asku awe. So you do have the conjugation prefix popping up there, but nothing else. So there's only the conjugation prefix, and then so then you're gonna have to have the object, the subject, the classifier. And what you have there is, I can't remember what it's called, but it means after this thing happened, after he knew my name, he said to me, right? And so that's what's going on. He uses it a few times in the show. Okay, thoughts or questions about this assignment?
We do not need to like gloss it one by one. We just need to translate it.
Yeah, I'm just looking for a literal translation right in the middle. So for example, it was called guide. And we have guide, you do sagen. So I think that's correct, but I think there's maybe a literal translation of this might be slightly different.
It was once called guide?
Maybe not once. Yeah. That's in the right realm, but I would probably say used to be.
Yeah, that's better.
And as we go through this, if there's anything in here that you want to know more about, ask about it.
So is what I have in the chat way too much?
Let's see. Yeah, so we don't need to get that level of detail. If you want that level of detail, you can, but I don't think we'll have enough time to get through all of it. We do gloss some things. I think glossing is a helpful exercise, but I'm not looking for that here. What I'm looking for is just really, so it says, I would travel around in it.
Positioned inside it, that thing, in the process of going by boat or sea every time I did.
Also say, in it, I always boat around. Right, so I yicked away in it.
In it, I around boat always.
In it, I always, what'd you say?
I said, in it, I around boat always.
Yeah, okay.
Just to keep it with the always being at the closer to the sea.
Right.
But for Salagao, we have the same assignment in advance, but for a different story. And when I'm hitting verbs I don't know, I do open up a second document and gloss it, and that helps me, but I don't put it in the middle.
Right. And I'm not asking you to be able to reproduce these verbs. I'm just saying, can we do a more, we're doing a translation here, the work of the Dowenhauers is absolutely incredible. The best, my favorite. I loved working with them so much. They did, however, translate a lot of this stuff or an English-speaking audience. So we are going to live in the middle ground in between the English that they have translated and the Lingít that we sort of are learning. So that's the goal of this whole thing. So you don't have to pull every single thing apart, but if it does help you for a particular thing, like if you're getting down to some of these things, you know, like sati dach is a little different than what we might be used to. And so I'm hoping that we can sort of see how all of these things are working. Asqewu. What is that?
Feigning.
Yes.
Or sane fisher.
Yes, so this is the noun form of either saning or a sane. Saner? Can we just say saner?
Oh.
A seiner is often
Or is that a
used
boat?
to boat, referring to a boat.
Sane fisher. So this is a noun that could be either one of those things. Just like asteich. Asteich, and it's a verbal noun, right? So there's a verb of both of those, but you would say it a little bit different. Although asqewu could mean they are saning.
Mm-hmm.
So here we get owe. You could translate as well.
Or
Nice. Okay.
It's acceptable, yes. Yechat duwasa.
Along what I'm called.
Well, the ye, well, I would say, okay, the you and the ye, this is really interesting. Because he has to say yechat duwasa because he is a classical speaker of Lingít. So, thus I am called. Or I guess, I don't know if we really need to translate.
I have thus people name.
Thus people call me.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe a little bit more. Because you could say if people named me, you'd say yechat duwasa, and that would be people named me. Right? Like I could say du'ani kaudenuk, yechat duwasa, achkak kuch. Johnny Marks named me du'ani kaudenuk. Lingít chénach.
Lingít speech.
Mouth through Tlingit.
Yeah.
So like this is our negotiating ground. So through the mouth of a human being is one way you could say that. But I would say a literal translation of this. Like whenever I hear Lingít chénach, I'm thinking in the Lingít language. And if your document is different than mine, that's totally fine. There's no right answer that we're looking for. Shadam. Yeah, so this is the name. It does mean around the mountain. Residing around the mountain, maybe? At.
Oh, because of the pinched.
Yeah.
Or like Juno.
Okay, we'll stop here. We'll pick this up. We're going to get through this page on Thursday. We'll also do a few more object drills and try and get ourselves to the subjects. And just want to reiterate that if some of this stuff is mind-boggling, that's just the territory that we're at right now. But I think if you continue to push through this stuff, talk with other people who are doing this or have done it, I really think it helps, because you must be able to think in Lingít in order to speak Lingít, and it does require the construction of a grammatical universe within your mind, which is completely possible, but I think is disorienting at times and frustrating. But I think, like, I could tell you folks a story and you can translate it even without ever hearing it before. And there might be certain parts that we need to sort of all collectively get some help with. Like, that's a huge sort of moment. There are not very many people that I could talk to in Lingít, and I could talk to y'all, and that's ʼatudli. Oh, what was I saying going way back about, I was saying something about a picture that was very hard to find. Does anybody remember that? I think that's what it's called. That's a 7:30 p.m. question, really? So what I was saying, I'll just recap it for you folks. Richard and Nora Downhauer made Beginning Lingít, which is what the Beginning Lingít workbook, which is now called, I think it's called a book that people begin to study Lingít with. So my vision with it was having images instead of English, right? So that we would have images that we could look at, and to get a bit more of a detailed description that's kind of hidden there. It's in small print that plans stuff for people to think about in the future. I'll probably go through and color code the whole dang thing at some point, or someone will. But some of the pictures were really hard to find. Like, we had to do some of them ourselves, like dry fish and black seaweed. But what was the hardest thing to find a picture of? I think I named it a couple times. I think it's called ʼatudli.átk. They're called either rippies or pull tabs. There's probably other names. I don't mess with them, but I couldn't find a picture online that looked like the ones that I had seen before. So I went into a place near Super Bear and I said, can I just buy some of these, take them home? And they said, no, you have to do them here. And I said, oh, well, can I take some of these out of the garbage? They said, no, you can't take them out of here. What are you doing? I said, well, I'm trying to take pictures of them so I could put them in a Beginning Lingít book. And she said, oh, well, just grab some of the garbage then. And so I took like 3 of them home, took pictures of them, and they're in the Beginning Lingít workbook. So it was a little behind the scenes story. So great job, everybody. Keep it up. And I always call Super Bear ʼatudli hoots. I regularly call it ʼanuxi hoots. And my dog is like, Sugar Bear? We're going to Sugar Bear?
Eventually, cool gummy bears or something like that.
Yeah, right. Say, wait, what do they make those out of? Pig skin? Is it pig skin or is it horse feet?
Which one?
Gummy bears. Or is that
All of the above.
Okay.
It's made with bones and cartilage, unless you buy the vegan ones, which are made are seaweed based, or sometimes they create it gelatin.
What do they like? Is there a word for like? And they're not really like cool.
No, like you know, like when you make like fish head soup and you let it cool and you get that jelly layer on top. That's what gelatin is.
Oh, okay.
It's the cartilage and the bones that have been boiled. So we should ask a speaker what that jelly layer is.
Right.
Because there it used to be done like that. You would make sweets out of fish gelatin, out of bone, like beef gelatin, all kinds of animals.
And that's different than pectin. Right?
Yes, pectin
Aw.
is basically like the wax from a produce.
Okay. That's a Thursday question, I guess. Gonna cheat.
Please.
We should ask Cupcake